Here we go.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is
not merely peace in our time, but peace in all time.
I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Did you think no one was watching?
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
your mission.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
To reclaim the American dream.
To be given the rights of human beings to be afforded equal rights and equal opportunities. By any means necessary.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show. If you're hearing his voice, you're hearing the voice of reason.
You've certainly come to the right place.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. It is Thursday, November 19th, 2015. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. We got started a little late, as you can tell. We're about 10 minutes late. But, I said, let me just get started. I got here a few minutes ago. Just life, man. We're working. We're doing a lot of things, and so I made it here just in time to get started at now. So here we are. I want to talk about how crazy things happened today. Today was a crazy day politically. Thank you. Wife brought me the water of life here. It was a crazy day, and it was crazy because it just goes to show you how easily scared and how easily distracted and how easily angered Americans can be. We've been building up for a while to a bit of a crazy, I don't even know where to start with this. America has lost its mind. Not all of us, clearly, but a large percentage of us. There are many, many Americans who genuinely think that the correct move with regard to the Syrian refugees is to not allow them to come in. And if we allow them to come in, we need to make sure that they're Christian. And if they're Muslim, you have people who are even joining on the Donald Trump bandwagon saying that they need to wear some type of indicator, some type of marker to identify them as Muslim. As though we don't have examples throughout history where this type of behavior, this type of vilification, this type of attitude has caused the greatest atrocities, as though we've never seen this before. But there's so many people who are playing into this, who are going along with it. It's I don't know, have we always been this crazy? Or have we just gone into a new era of asininity, of ridiculousness? Have we gone into it? Because here's the thing, even if you're afraid of what happened in Paris, you have to ask yourself, is our fear more valuable than our values? And that's if you're a reasonable person. If you're looking at this thing holistically, then you would realize that this fear that is being conjured up by the right is disingenuous at best. Because here are these gun-toting, God-fearing patriots, so-called patriots, who have always talked as though they were the toughest people in the world, now all of a sudden afraid of refugees. It's a disingenuous fear. It's a political fear. It is a useful fear for their political purposes, and it's useful in two regards. And I guess and I'll get to those two regards in a second, but I think what's frustrating me the most is how many Americans are going along with this foolishness. It's useful in these two regards. Number one, it's useful because it gives them the ability to oppose President Obama which is their lifeblood. That's all they stand for. That's all they really want. That's what they're looking for, anything and everything to oppose President Obama. Number one. Number two, they are looking for anything that they can use to oppose Islam. Yeah, I'm going with asininity. It's I looked it up. It seems to be in the dictionary. I'm just reading some comments. Guys, you could join the conversation. You know what to do. 857-600-0518, or you could join the conversation in the chat room. So they're looking for any opportunity to oppose President Obama on anything and everything. So this is a perfect opportunity for them. And then number two, they're looking for an opportunity to oppose Islam, which the latter goes completely against what America stands for. Which goes back to the conversation we had a long time ago. The conversation we had a long time ago about conservatives want America to only work for them. Period. They want the Constitution to only work for them. They want these values to only work for them. They don't want these freedoms and the rights enshrined in the Constitution extended to anyone with whom they disagree. That is most assuredly the case with conservatives. The difference between a conservative and a liberal and a progressive is that conservatives want all of this only for them. And if you are not like them, if you don't believe like them, if you're not politically aligned like them, they don't want those freedoms extended to you because they don't think that this country is for you. Whereas progressives, we say we want to extend those privileges and those rights to every American, even if we disagree with them, especially if we disagree with them. And so here they are using this as an opportunity to put a wedge between a wedge further. You know, it's been a wedge between America and Islam in general since 2001. You know, the media made sure of that, even though President George Bush at the time said that we are not at a war against Islam. They didn't take his cue. They ran full with it, because if there's anything Americans fear more than a right-wing conservative who will blow up 147 people, a right-wing conservative who would go in a church and shoot up 9 people, a right-wing conservative who would all these examples of crazy right-wing Christians, they would rather be fearful of Islam than the terrorists that are right here at home. America has lost its mind, has utterly lost its mind. And today it went even further, because now you have 47 Democrats who have signed on, and I want to pull up all their names. You have 47 Democrats who have signed on with this this resolution, this bill from the House, which is nothing more than a political bill, and they have betrayed their American principles in exchange for the expediency of fear, and how easy it is to use fear to vilify and to be a political tool. Simply put, you have Pete Aguilar from California's 31st district. You have Brad Ashford. You have Amy Barra. I don't know how to pronounce all their names. You can find them. Sanford Bishop, Georgia's 2nd district. Julia Brownlee, California's 26th district. Sherry Bustos, Illinois 17th district. John Carney, Delaware, all districts. So yeah, I guess Delaware is that small. Jerry Connolly, Virginia 11th district. Jim Cooper, Tennessee, the 5th district. Jim Costa, Joe Courtney, Henry Kohler, John Delaney, Lloyd Doggett, Tulsi Gabbard, John Garamendi. These are some crazy names. Gwen Graham, Jean Green, Janice Hahn from California's 44th district, Jim Hughes from Connecticut's 4th district, Steve Israel, New York, Mark Capator, Bill Keating, Ron Kend, Annie Kuster, Jim Lagervin. Now that's one I'm going to stumble on. Jim Lagervin, Rhode Island 2nd district, Dan Lipinski, Illinois, Dave Loisbach, Loebsack, Stephen Lynch, Sean Maloney, Patrick Murphy of Florida's 18th district. Hello, Patrick. I was looking for somebody that I knew on this list. I'm looking at his pictures now. Hang on, let me just share my screen with you guys on YouTube so you can see these pictures. I know Patrick Murphy from Florida. Yeah, there he is. I'm going to share my screen with you guys so you can see what I'm seeing. If your representative is on this list, you need to have them primaried. You need to vote them out of office. These are 47 Democrats who sided with the Republicans' foolishness and fear and propaganda, not only to oppose President Obama, but to undermine religious freedom in this country. Let me share the screen with you again. 1 second. I stopped at Patrick Murphy because I know Patrick Murphy, and I'm going to tweet Patrick Murphy in a few minutes. Rick Nolan, Minnesota, 8th District. Donald Norcross, Scott Peters, Colin Peterson, Jared Paulus, Kathleen Rice, Raul Ruiz, Tim Ryan, Kurt Schrader, David Scott, Terry Sewell, Christine Cinema, Louise Slaughter, Mark VC for Tennessee, Texas, 33rd District, Philomene Vela from Texas, and Tim Waltz from Minnesota. Now, these are the people, these are the 47 Democrats that have voted in favor of this piece of legislation, giving the Republicans a veto-proof majority, essentially trying to stop President Obama's acceptance of Syrian refugees. Now, I want you to juxtapose that to the reality that France, the people who have been victimized in this, are still accepting the refugees. How does that? This is just this is craziness. This is craziness. Everything that America stands for, we're ready to throw it out the window because we are ostensibly fearful of these Syrian refugees, as though we don't have the ability to screen them, as though we don't have the ability to monitor them. It's not as though they're not American citizens. We have the ability to track them, to monitor them, to screen them, to keep tabs on them, everything that we need to do to make sure that we are safe from them. No, Siri, not right now. If your congressman is on this list, let me pull it up for you one more time. I want you to look at this list. If your congressman is on this list, I want you to email them. I want you to call them. I want you to tweet them. I'm personally going to go after Patrick Murphy. I know Patrick. I guess ostensibly all of these are generally good people. So we're not going to say that they're bad people, but they've made a bad vote and they have to pay for it. I'm going to tweet Patrick on my break and ask him, I need a reason. Tell me why. Tell me why you think this is a good idea to cave into this fear. Because if France, the very nation that was attacked, still has the balls, the chutzpah, the moral fortitude, right? They have the character, the resilience to still accept Syrian refugees. Why in America are we going to cave in to exactly what ISIS wants? You have given ISIS a victory. This is what they want. You have surrendered. You have cowered, and you have kneeled before the altar of ISIS. Every single one of these Democrats, along with all the Republicans who voted for it. You have bowed down to ISIS. You have become subservient to ISIS. You are cowards. You don't stand for what America stands for. And for that reason, you have no reason being a leader in the United States of America. None whatsoever. Not only because you've played to the fears and given into the fears, but because you've surrendered your American values in exchange for the agenda of ISIS. ISIS wants nothing more than to make Muslims around the world alienated from Western civilization so that they can radicalize more Muslims, so that they can create their caliphate, so that they can spread their dogma across the globe with the help of billions of 1.5 billion Muslims. And so by alienating them, We are doing the bidding of ISIS. So every one of these 47 Democrats, and along with the 230 some odd Republicans, you have become the servants of ISIS. Congratulations. You've been promoted from being the loser in America. I want to say something. Oh, God. I should have just said it and not thought about it. It wouldn't be natural if I said it now. Fear. That's all it is. You've given into fear. And what's the reason I'm harping on this so much is because we've surrendered. We have surrendered. We have surrendered to the wishes of a terrorist organization. There's no other way to put it. We have surrendered to a terrorist organization. We have given in to the demands. All that time we say America doesn't negotiate with terrorists. We didn't negotiate with them. We caved in and gave them exactly what they wanted. We have done the bidding of the most violent and vicious and ruthless terrorist regime we have ever known, all because what? You're afraid that we don't have the capacity to handle. We handle terrorism here in the United States on a regular basis. I guess if you never had to fear the police, then you never have to really consider terrorism. Or if you never feared the Klan, or you never feared white supremacist group or neo-Nazis, if you've never been on the receiving end of terror on a regular basis in some form or fashion, then maybe I guess this is brand new for you. But that's going underneath the premise that these people who are coming are actually terrorists, and that we don't have the administrative capacity to weed out the potential terrorists. So many false dichotomies going on in that entire train of thinking. And the thing about it is, folks, they are not the least bit concerned with protecting you. They are not. It's just an excuse for them to oppose President Obama. It's just an excuse for them to oppose Islam. Because these same right-wing Christians, don't let them fool you, these same right-wing Christians, they want a holy war just like ISIS. Yeah, they want a holy war just like ISIS. They want a new crusade. If you read some of these timelines, you read some of the commentary, listen to some videos, they want a crusade against ISIS. They want a holy war, not against ISIS, but against Islam. And so they are doing what ISIS wants because they want the same thing ISIS wants. ISIS wants it to be a war between Islam and the West. Christians, right-wing conservative Christians in the United States, they want the battle of Armageddon. They want the end times to be ushered in. And so they want a religious holy war against Islam. And who's stuck in the middle? Children, families, fathers, mothers. This is a picture of a 3-year-old Syrian refugee who is sleeping on a rock. A rock is his pillow. That's who's stuck in this political game and this religious fundamentalist game. We've lost. And the problem is, this is the next logical step in the idiocy. This is the next logical step. Everything that's happening is a logical next step in the idiocy that has become the conservative party. Now, mind you, there are 47 Democrats who've gone along with this. We need to primary them. They need to be out of office because they don't have the fortitude to be leaders in the United States of America. But this is being carried on the wings of conservatism. And this is the next logical step in the idiocy that is conservatism. The modern day conservatives, that they have nothing in common with reality, with real American values, or with conservatives of old. This modern conservative Republican Party would be laughed to scorn by Buckley and Goldwater and Reagan, even though I think Reagan was one of the worst presidents in terms of the trajectory of our country. He still had more moral character than all of these clowns combined. But here we are, where it's not only extremely ridiculous leaders who are leading the charge, pushing us further and further away from our values that made us American, but it's also the masses who are cheering it along the way. When fascism comes to America, it's coming draped in a flag and carrying a cross. And there's a scene from Star Wars Episode 3 where Senator Palpatine tears down the Empire, not the Empire, but the Galactic Senate or whatever. I'm not good with Star Wars. I just remember the scene. And everyone celebrated the end of democracy. Everyone was cheering. Everyone was elated with the decision that he made. And one of the main characters says, "This is how democracy ends," to thunderous applause. This is how democracy ends. Little by little by little, we're chipping away at the soul of America because conservatives have weaponized fear. Caller, what is your name, comment, and/or question? You're live on the air.
Hey, man, this is Patrick again from Miramar.
Patrick, how are you today, man?
I'm good, man. I just want to first say you fixed that mic today. Good job on that one.
Thanks, man. And
second thing I want to say, this is not really my point. I'm just reiterating this point that Noam Chomsky has made for some time now, is that this is the modern-day conservative party, in that they have isolated or rendered their moderate base incompatible with their most recent ideologies. So there is no new converse to conservatism. So they have to go further and further right to find people to mobilize. Because this strain of xenophobia has always been there. But they've been purposely marginalized by both parties.
Right.
They were the fringe. Because we have fringe on our lap. I personally know some folks who think 9/11 is an inside job, and you name. My father's actually one of them. But us Democrats don't cater to that. We shut that down very quickly.
Yeah.
Well, Republicans used to shut that down to a certain degree, but because their policies, whether it's economic or social, have alienated their moderate base, that they now have to mobilize a previously immobilized group. So this isn't a new set of people. Right. It's just that they're empowered for the first time, or they're empowered for the first time in a long time.
Absolutely. And it goes directly to conversations we were having over the summer with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the perfect, he's the archetype modern conservative, in that he brings out the crazies, and he not only brings out the crazies, but in a very strategic fashion, he has rendered the establishment useless, impotent. They can't do anything about it, because he has brought together religious conservatives along with the extreme, the nationalistic conservatives, and he has merged them into a coalition of their own, which has kept him up near or above 20% throughout the entire summer into November. He has found this crazy rabid group of conservatives and molded them into a coalition that is almost unstoppable, in the sense that it is strong enough to break apart the party. So what has to happen is that either the establishment starts shifting further, like you said, to where Donald Trump has found his new coalition, or the establishment continues to lose validity and validity in the eyes of the base. And so now you see the regular conservatives, regular normal thinking people who are rational on any given day of the week are now buying into some of the same foolishness that is being espoused by Donald Trump.
I do have one question though, Ben, and this is on the same subject we're talking about. I know the answer to it, just came to my mind, is that what role, in some ways, I think the media is complicit, although they're all freaking out right now. But we went a good 10 years plus with their propaganda outfit called Fox News, that people just out of fear of popularity, whatever it may be, were afraid to fact check them, were afraid to call this a lie or BS, even CNN or MSNBC. So it gave this strand of conservatism a sense of legitimacy. Right. I remember specifically when they wanted to interview President Obama, and usually how the news works, they all come together and it's like a 10-minute section each. And President Obama did not want to sit down with Fox News because he called them propaganda outfit, but yet CNN and MSNBC protested, and NBC News and CBS News, and they refused to interview him until he sits down with Fox News. And to me, the media has granted them credibility, and now they're freaking out, but they were afraid for a long time to call them out. That's just my comment for today.
Right. Thanks so much for the call, man. You're absolutely right. And I'll follow up on that main point. You're absolutely right. The media has... This is the product. I'm going to be honest with you. Let's go to the logical extreme of the root cause of this. One of the root causes of this is the fact that our media has been has allowed the profit motive to enter into every decision, not some decisions. It used to be that the news portion of a network was allowed to run at a loss instead of a profit, but they have introduced the profit motive inside of every news outlet, and because of that, there has been news has become a commodity. That's not the outflow of the profit motive. Actually, maybe it is an outflow. I think it is. That is eventually, once you add the profit motive into an equation and businesses see that you can make money off the news, everyone enters into the game and it becomes a commodity where everyone is doing it. Once everyone is doing it, then all of a sudden you have where the competition is so steep that reputable news outlets that used to could fact check a politician and call a politician and essentially make or break a politician based on an interview, now they have to play the same games as Breitbart or as the Daily Beast just to get an interview. And so now it is a buyer's market for politicians. Politicians can pick and choose what outlets they want to go to, and if you want me to come to your outlet, then you have to agree to certain terms. That is the problem, the profit motive. And this is what happens when everything is reduced to money. The media played such a significant role in our democracy that now it's not capable of fulfilling, because every outlet is out there, not only just because of the profit motive, but also because of the internet, social media. News is nothing more than a commodity. Everyone can do it. Everyone can get into it. And when everyone is doing it, the quality of it goes down. And we are suffering as a democracy because we don't have a viable source that provides. You know who's the best right now, in my opinion, in terms of media? Vox and Vice News from HBO. Those are two outlets that are adapting to the new model, but they have integrity in their reporting and in their questioning. And as a result, we're getting politicians who can get on stage night after night and lie to us while we know that they're lying. Like, really, who did not know that Donald Trump, Carly Fiorina, Ben Carson were lying on stage? Who didn't know that? Every single one of us knew that, but the media did not call them on it. And none of us who have a portion of a platform had a platform large enough to call them on it. And then when somebody is actually brave enough to do it, well, their audience, Ben Carson's audience, has been brainwashed so much that they don't believe the truth anymore. The truth has been rewritten to be convenient for the purposes of fulfilling whatever that politician needs to get done. This is the world we live in, folks. The truth has been rewritten. We're in a very curious. I'm gonna see if he tweeted me back. No, he hasn't. I tweeted my former congressman to see, and I know he's not going to tweet me back. In other news, CNN. I think I took a screenshot. Actually, I took the screenshot on my phone. CNN suspended a reporter over a tweet in regard to the same vote that I'm talking about here. And I want to read the tweet, and this shows you how screwed we are. We are genuinely screwed. There are a lot of other things that I could be talking about and probably rightly should be talking about, but to be honest with you, it's I think this is one of the things. This is like a flashpoint. This is a flashpoint in, I don't know if it's in American history, but most certainly in this campaign cycle. CNN reporter suspended for 2 weeks after tweets on refugees. This is what she said. House passes bill that could limit Syrian refugees. Statue of Liberty bows head in anguish. CNN suspended Elise Labat, whatever, because of that last sentence. Statue of Liberty bows head in anguish. While Fox News not only puts out commentary, because that's essentially what she did. She gave comment. Not only does Fox News put out commentary and call it news, Fox News puts out propaganda and calls it news. And I have never seen a single person suspended from Fox News. Nobody. That's because we don't have the backbone to stand up against the conservative propaganda machine. We don't have leadership the leadership in terms of our media, who's going to stand up against the conservative propaganda machine, so that if you say something that is absolutely true, but it offends the conservative machine, you stand a chance of being attacked in a very significant fashion. Give me your poor, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning for breath to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send me the homeless tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. And today, the majority of our elected representatives, not a filibuster proof, but a veto proof majority, essentially said, go to hell with that. And surrendered to ISIS, to exactly what ISIS wants to do. That's exactly what they want you to do. We have done their bidding. We have alienated an entire population, which is exactly what ISIS needs to find their next suicide bombers. So in essence, these 47 Democrats and 200 some odd Republicans have radicalized the next suicide bomber. Not to mention the continuous bombing, right? The continuous droning, the continuous occupation, not to mention all the other things that we do that contribute to the radicalization. Forget about all those extra things. All right. A lot of good comments in here. Actually, I'm gonna go break free tonight. I don't feel like taking a break because that thing kind of really really is troubling. Bernie Sanders did a speech today, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. I only got the first half of the speech because I didn't get to listen to it until my train ride home. The first half of his speech was dealing with foreign policy, and he started pointing out some things that were very sensible. And sensible is a word that is almost a pejorative today. What he said was that we simply need to move forward, but we can't move forward until we look at the causes of the things, the reasons we're in the conundrum that we're in now. And part of moving forward is that we need to stand boldly, but this is something, the fight against ISIS has to be taken care of by Muslim nations, by nations in the region, but also by Muslim nations in particular, because it's a fight for the soul of Islam. And that's what it is. It is a fight for the soul of Islam. So Muslims across the world need to lead this fight, because if Americans lead, and this is where do you realize that if we do exactly what the Republican Party wants done, we will lead to a all-out war with Islam? Because not only do they want us to alienate and ostracize Muslims, but they want to put American troops on the ground in even more Muslim nations to fight and to create havoc, because no matter how just the fight is, it is going to wreak havoc on the region. And so it's going to be the West invading yet another Muslim nation, killing Muslims, which will have the unquestionable effect of radicalizing even more people. I don't think they no, stop, rewind. They know exactly what they're doing. We are dealing with such a radicalized group of Republicans that they know damn well that their decisions are going to lead to an all-out war with Islam. That's why they are doing the bidding of ISIS. They are doing exactly what ISIS wants, because they want the same exact thing as ISIS. They want a holy war. That's why these right-wing extremists, preachers, and Christians and politicians are as dangerous to the security of America as any Islamic terrorist, period. Because they want the same thing. They want a holy war. Christians just happen to think that they will be the ones to win. Muslims happen to think, extremist Muslims think the same thing. But here is Bernie Sanders giving this prolific speech with actual solutions, naming the nations that need to build a coalition that they can lead the charge. All of the Muslim nations that can build a coalition, lead the charge, and allow America and other Western nations to simply support, so that it is a war, a fight between Muslims. It is radical Islam, if you want to use the word, fine. Radical Islam against moderate Islamists. But nobody is having a rational conversation about this. Nobody. Because everybody is rushing head first into an all-out war with Islam. Because that's what they want. That's what ISIS wants. That's what the right-wing evangelicals want. That's what Donald Trump knows is his ticket into winning the nomination. That's what Ted Cruz thinks is the ticket for him to win the nomination. And they're actually interested in doing that. All right, let me read some questions and we'll go. And if you guys, anything you want to talk about at this point, I'm done talking about about it because that's kind of depressing. Donald Martin says Black Twitter had a topic today saying it's very difficult for blacks. Oh, I lost my question. For blacks to vote for a white candidate after electing a black president twice. They said it feels regressive. Thoughts? Donald, I'm going to answer that one later. Donald, just send me a reminder to answer that question. Let me go back up. I just want to get a couple of transitional questions. The real war, this is from Michael Salomon. The real war is now between those who are tolerant and the fundamentalists. We have to fight back. That fascism will not be allowed to continue in leadership in America. Absolutely agree. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the bottom line. I don't care what religion you are. I absolutely don't care if you are a first member of the First Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, or if you are a traditional Southern Baptist, or if you're a missionary. I don't care where you're from. The question is, are you a fundamentalist, or are you a tolerant moderate? Are you a fundamentalist in the sense that you believe that your religion is the only religion that should be in this country or on this planet, and everyone else needs to be converted, or else they're going to hell, or they need to be purged, or they need to be executed, or they need to be whatever? If you cannot tolerate other religions and non-religions, if you can't coexist with them, then you are a fundamentalist and you are the problem. The problem is not only Islamic fundamentalism, it is Christian fundamentalism. It is any type of fundamentalism that is not able to play nice with everyone else in the neighborhood. Pretty much that sums it up. Let me read a couple more comments. Norman Hopbill said, fear and stupidity is a global phenomenon, but a terror attack is nothing else than a very hideous crime with usually a lot of casualties. It happens rarely in the West. Except for the political component and for the purposes. So I agree with you, but I disagree with you, because terrorism, there is an express definition of terrorism. It is trying to inflict fear for political purposes, trying to break up the status quo using fear. But in the sense of the casualties that it causes, yes, it is crime. It is a horrific crime. We have seen incidents, for instance, the Oklahoma City bombing. Right? More people were killed there, but rarely do we use the word terrorism to describe it when it fit the exact description, right? If his purposes were political, he wanted to send a statement to the US government, and he had mass casualties, and he wanted to cause terror in the hearts of people. So it was terrorism. But in America, you know, if it's a white right-wing religious person doing the crime, doing the terrorism, then we're not going to call it terrorism. We're going to call it a crime. We did the same thing just recently with Dylan Roof. So in that regard, I agree with you. Caller, what is your name, comment, and or question? You're live on the air.
Hey, Ben, it's Pedro. How's it going?
It's going okay, Pedro. I've had better days, but it's, you know, this is America right now. What's on your mind?
I hear you. I know I always touch on religion and Christianity in American politics, and unfortunately I have to touch on this again. But because you're both a Christian and if I remember correctly, a teacher, this is a two-part question I want to pose to you, and I'd like a serious answer. By the way, the mic sounds a lot better.
Thank you, man.
I'm glad I could push you towards that.
Hey, I wanted to make sure you guys are happy. I got to make sure you guys are good. So go for it. Let me know. What are your questions?
Okay. So this is both about how perception in America, perception towards America. On one hand, we have, not on one hand, at one facet, I'm, as a non-believer, as an outsider, I'm not seeing how these right-wing fundamentalists are emulating the stereotype of Jesus, which is, you know, loving the sinner, hanging out with the outliers and all of that, like taking care of the poor, giving up what you can to help others, even if they hurt you. My first question is, how do we make, if possible, how do we make these fundamentalists see that they're not being Christians, but merely religious fanatics of whatever flavor you want to call them? They're just being warriors.
Okay.
That's the first one. And the second one is, how do we, it's unfortunately, right now it's impossible to divide, to remove the Judeo-Christian prejudice that other people see in us as a nation.
Yeah.
Even our own politicians are saying we are a Judeo-Christian nation, even though historically that's debatable. How do we get other people to see that we're not as fanatics as these right-wing fundamentalists, that we are, no matter what religion does or doesn't represent us, that we are accepting, that we are American, that we do accept, immigrants and the people who need help and refugees and all that stuff.
Pose that. Give me that first question again. Give me just a real quick snapshot. What was the first question? How do we get them to see that they're not being?
How do we get the extreme religious right to see that they are not emulating Christ?
So I don't think it's possible. I honestly, I don't think it's possible so long as they are okay. The reason it's not possible is because religion, just like anything else, requires reinforcement, constant reinforcement and reinforcing. And so while their pastors and their teachers are constantly reinforcing them with this idea of this perverted image of Christ in terms of what a Christian should be like, it's going to be impossible to break through and get the message to them that they're anything and everything but like Christ, right? So I agree with you 100%. They are everything except like Christ. They do exactly the opposite of what Christ would do, but we can't get that message to them so long as they keep going back to their source of idiocy. And so in a sense, it's like, I feel if we could get their ears for a long enough period of time, that maybe we could set them free. But here's the problem. Here's another underlying problem. This is very esoteric, and we'd have to unpack this on another day. Once you start confronting the problems with your religion politically, it leads to confronting the problems with your religion logically. And most people aren't strong enough to actually have that conversation. And so most people stay away from that conversation, period, because a lot of them, I honestly believe if people start questioning their faith, a lot of them would really become atheists because they don't have the mental capacity to actually handle the seeming contradictions and the lapse of logic, all the problems that come with religion. That's a very hard thing to grapple in your head. And so I think a lot of people just stay away from it and stay with the most simplistic version of religion that they can possibly get. And that simplistic version of religion is always underneath the control of politically ambitious men who manipulate the ignorance. I'm not trying to insult them, but their lack of knowledge. And so they're underneath the control of some powerful influences. And unless we can get them from underneath that control, I honestly don't think that we can do what you say, which is to pull them away. And to your second question is,
I actually want to rephrase my second question because I rambled a bit, but I know how to phrase it better now.
Go for it.
We've been able as a country to stop certain extreme people from being pulled under the umbrella of Christianity, like any right-wing terrorist, the Westboro Baptist Church, and all of that stuff. Now, this is sort of a hypothetical, a sort of a fantastic thought, but barring any sort of logistics or reality, in what way do you think we can divorce ourselves as a nation from seeing this kind of extremism that we're seeing now, this extreme fundamentalism, as like the sort of stereotype of Christianity, as like the sort of de facto Christianity?
And
is there a way that we can do that?
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. You've asked some tough questions tonight. That's a seriously tough question, because at the core of your question really would answer a lot of what's happened today alone, right? It is if we could pull America from this rabid interpretation of Christianity, then we wouldn't have this xenophobic fear of every religion and every non-religion, right? People fear atheists almost the same amount they fear Muslims, right? They have this fear of anything that's not a conservative Christian. And I mean, they have a straight up fear of people like me. I'm more of the I'm liberation theology. I'm not a pure liberation theologist, but I lean more in that direction. And so they've cast me out as a heretic. So they have this overwhelming fear of anything that's not perfectly in line with that interpretation of Christianity. And how do we pull America away from that? If it's not little by little, inch by inch, I don't know how we do it. I don't think that there's a new savior that can come. I think so many of the great preachers that could have done it have been lost to the lure of money. They're all about prosperity. Man, you've asked a whole that's a big question. And I would say this, maybe we could do a whole show on that. But I think if we could answer that question, then we would not have days like this where we betray America because of our fear of anything that's not exactly like our faith.
Well, if this can cheer you up from your little downtrodden mental state, and I'm serious, and I'm not trying to like suck up to you, but I want to call you one of the good ones, because not only do you stick to your beliefs, but you're also aware of what's going on outside of your own sphere of belief, and I treasure that, and honestly, I think a lot more people will too. So I just want to say, like, whatever you will inspire me and a lot of other people who listen to do what it takes to get us away from that paradigm of rabid, fundamental, extreme Christianity. So, like, keep up the good work. Keep up the fight. Seriously.
I appreciate that. I certainly will.
You have a good one.
You too. And maybe, you know what, Pedro, maybe that's the answer, right? Maybe the answer is simply people like you and people like me getting together and having conversations that that other people would be terrified of having. What does it look like for me as a Christian to have so many atheists who are in my circle? And we just have regular conversations all the time about faith and religion. And I don't demand that you be a Christian to speak with me, and you don't demand that I have to be an atheist to speak with you. We still have a meeting of the minds. And if we can do that more, if we can do that more, then we would essentially do what Donald Trump has done, but for the right reason. Okay, it's coming to me. We have to build a coalition between people of different faiths and people of non-faith, and go back to what Michael Solomon said, and it's a difference of fundamentalists versus the tolerant. Right, those that can actually coexist, because there's not many, but I think there's a small percentage of atheists who really absolutely only want the demise of religion, and probably would not have a conversation with me at length, because they wouldn't like my positioning on faith, because my positioning on faith makes compromise and coexistence possible. That's a small percentage of atheists. But there's a big percentage of religious people who do the same exact thing, right? Who say there's absolutely no coexistence. If we, instead of combining forces of the ignorant and the intolerant, instead of doing that, we combine forces of the tolerant and the thinkers and the logical, then we create a new paradigm where we become the model itself, right? We show the world that atheists, that Muslims, that Christians, because I'll be honest with you, it has to be that way. Our future depends on all of us coexisting, not out of a kumbaya sweet, we all, hippies and waving of, no, not because of all that, simply because if we can't tolerate each other, we're going to kill each other. I don't think people realize those are our two choices. We've been dredging along, kind of going back and forth between sometimes we get along, sometimes we go to war, sometimes we kill each other, but it's almost becoming crystallized. It's becoming crystal clear. Either we are going to coexist or we are going to destroy ourselves. Our future necessarily depends on the tolerant Christians and the tolerant Muslims and the tolerant atheists and the tolerant agnostics and the tolerant Buddhists and the tolerant Hindu and the tolerant people who just don't care about any of those labels and just wants to live their life. It depends on us finding each other, communicating with each other, and spreading that message. And so it won't be all about America pulling away from this rabid interpretation of Christianity as much as it would be about America moving towards this tolerance and this new paradigm where we're not fighting. Those of us who know better, we're not spending time fighting about the things we disagree on. We're spending time building on the things that we do agree on. All right, let me read a couple more questions. I might do a little episode over the weekend for Bernie's speech because it was a great speech, and I want to be able to unpack it and bring some clips. Collective consciousness is suffering. Never before in all of our history have forces been so united against one candidate as they stand today. I think I see where you're going with that. I kind of like that. We know that the government by organized, our vote still counts. Just kind of perusing through your questions here, guys. I like this one from Grandma Christine 42. God keeps playing tricks on those Republicans, telling each of them that he will see to it that they win. God has a great sense of humor. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. A couple more questions. Black said what? Said we're screwed. The Brendan the Bank time of money. Let me see if I have Kevin Colby. How'd I find the easy way in? Okay, this is over on Spreaker. I'm not sure, Kevin, how you found the easy way in, but I'm glad to have you on board. Welcome aboard. And one more question here. We must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools, from Leslie. I couldn't say it any better, Leslie. Thank you for that quote as I use my applause line ad nauseum. Folks, thanks so much for hanging out with me. I could stay longer and hang out if you guys have any more questions. But before we shift gears, I don't really promote a whole lot. Todd Hamlin, and I hope I pronounced it right. It was either Hamlin or Hamlin. Sorry. But Todd reminded me the other night that I do have a Patreon account. And Todd is a supporter, as I have a few supporters there. And you can buy me a coffee once a month. If enough of you buy me a coffee once a month, then I won't have to wait so long to get my microphone fixed. That's the truth. You know, I was just stalling long enough so I can get the equipment fixed. But, you know, you guys can help me build this show. As you can see, I work really hard. I wake up at 6, I go to work, I come home, and I in between my calls, taking care of my clients, I see a news article, I'll read it, dissect it, and get some points, and I throw it in my OneNote, my Evernote essentially, and I'll have it ready for you at night, because this is just what I love to do. And I know I'm gifted with commentary and the ability to speak, and so I'm just trying to give my gift to you guys as much as I can. But we can do this together. Go over to patreon.com / The Benjamin Dixon Show. I'm going to go there now. Let's go there together. And, you know, pledge what you can. If you could pledge $1 a month, pledge $1 a month. If you could pledge $5 a month, pledge $5 a month. Patreon.com / The BPD Show. And help support the show. You know, help us do oh, don't pay attention to that. Horribly. I got to change that picture. That picture was from years ago. But, you know, right now I have 2 Patreons, and they're sending over $27.41 a month. And you know what? That adds up. You guys could go over there, buy me a coffee. Once a month, buy me a coffee, and that'll help build this show. Every penny that you send is going to go into either advertising for the show, getting the equipment fixed, making sure the equipment is fixed, paying for the website, paying for all the different subscriptions that I have going on to keep this going. I'm absolutely funding this. I had commercials. I had corporate sponsors early on because I was affiliated with a network. I have since terminated that, so I don't run those commercials anymore, which is better because we could just have a conversation. Help me to not have to go back to the commercial format, at least on the podcast and on the YouTube show. So go to patreon.com/The Benjamin Dixon Show and register for $1. If you can't do $1 a month, then go over to my blog and subscribe to my blog and read my articles. Even if you don't read it, click on it. Clicks mean everything, right? But read it. It's some pretty good stuff, and share it. So there's plenty of ways. And if that's too much to ask, then you know what to do here on YouTube. Subscribe, like, share. Make sure that you spread the word over on Spreaker. We want you to do the same thing. I'm coming up at 59 minutes and 56 seconds. 2, 1. I'll see you guys next time.
And until that moment comes, when we, the Americans, are able to accept the fact that on that continent we are trying to forge a new identity for which we need each other, that I am not a ward of America. I am one of the people who built the country. Until this moment.
That we are brothers. It's not a question of Jews, Christians, or Muslims. We're all in the same boat.
We need each other.
Love is a condition so powerful. It may be that which holds the stars in the firmament.
Until this moment.
Love.
Until this moment.
Love.
Until this moment.
I come to you today to say that we can build a newer and better nation. I say we can do so, that we must do so, and that we will do so.
You've tuned in to The Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at www.thebenjamindixonshow.com.
All right, YouTube, if anyone is still here, I don't mind doing a little extra time here. Let me get back to the show. I accidentally closed it out, so I can't see your comments. So you guys hold tight while I get back myself. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Yes, oh yes, I do want to stop broadcasting. Come on, don't make me hit it twice. Goodness, I hate when that happens. All right, let's see. All right, so we still have 19 people in the room. Good night, Progressive Army. Good night. Oh, everybody's going to bed. Okay. Or I'm here. It's what how about Amazon funding? What do you mean Amazon funding? Are you talking about the Amazon Associates program where I get a code and you guys go shopping with Amazon? I have that. I just have to integrate it. Weren't you on TYT? You'd be great addition. Not sure if it's great income, but a great platform. Donald, no, I was never on TYT. The only network I was with a small internet radio network. They actually, I mean, there were great people that helped me get started. They actually encouraged me to get started and kept encouraging me until I actually got it going. But it just wasn't the right structure for me. So no, I was never with TYT. I would gladly go join. Actually, I wonder if I should say this. I have a meeting tomorrow with a person, and after the meeting, I'll let you guys know how the meeting went and who I met with. So maybe that we activate comments. So the comments are that's a default thing now with YouTube. The comments are no longer available during the show, which kind of sucks, right? I used to love the comments because it made it easier to keep track of, but they deactivated that and gave us access to the chat room. I'm burning and stop and drop and roll. Thanks. Black said, what did you answer my questions? I think I did, Pedro. Check back right after I disconnected you. I did try to answer the best I could. Omnimortar, damn it, Ben. What did I say? Meeting with David Packman. That remains to be seen. What does the P stand for in, oh, that question? I mean, I do know what it stands for, but I'm wondering if I should say it. Like, I think it's easily found. It stands for Paul. You can find that on the internet anywhere. Paul, I'm actually, this is how religious my family was. I'm named after the Apostle Paul, who was of the tribe of Benjamin, circumcised on the 8th day. So I was circumcised on the 8th day. They named me Benjamin, and my middle name is Paul. That's kind of how my family operates. Miss Gracie, I will get that Amazon code together and send it back out, and start using that, and I'll start putting it in my description. And that'd be great. Any of you who buy stuff on Amazon, just you could click on that, and let's see if there's any questions that I missed. Good night, Progressive Army. How about Amazon? Hell yeah. Buy them a gin and tonic, right? So a coffee costs about $5. A gin and tonic at the right bar costs about $8. That'd be perfect, man. That'd be perfect. Everything that you guys do would keep me from having to do corporate commercials, because I could go out and hassle up, but the funding wasn't, you know what? The funding for those commercials wasn't enough for me to keep running them. So let's try it. Let's try it without their help. And how about some swag? I never, if you guys are interested in that, I used to design a whole lot. So, funny story, everything that you see, everything from the logo to the website to all of it I did in Photoshop. I even, the picture, hang on, let me pull it up. The picture here. I had my wife sit on the stairwell and I focused the camera around her. And then I sat down and she took the picture. So we're out in these streets hustling, man. Don't act like you don't know what it is. Yeah, I do know what my middle name is. So yeah, but to answer your question, Todd, yeah, I could put a couple of swag things together and connect with a network that produce them. You guys can buy them. Listen, man, I like what Quantum Samurai said. It's a progressive army, and I think that's the core of your question, Pedro. Back in the show, those of us who are progressive. Right, those of us that are progressive, we tend to be more tolerant, even though there are some crazy people on the far left. Admittedly, there are some crazy people. All right, I'm not sure what you mean here. One could write longer sentences. I'd like to reply in more length, but as long as they are activated afterward, I'm okay. Yeah, they're activated afterwards, and so long as I'm talking with you guys now, Norman, they're not activated. So if you're ready to comment, if everyone is ready to go, we can shut it down and we can hang out next week. I think you should use the Booker T. Harlem Heat entrance music. Quantum, send me a link to that. It's not ringing a bell. I probably should know it, but I don't. So send me a link and I'll check it out. And I want to see if I missed any good questions. Everything else was pretty deep. Hey, man, listen, let me tell you guys, I appreciate you over there, you sitting on the couch, you in your room. I appreciate you. Somebody's still at work. I appreciate you watching me at work. We're small, but a lot of people do appreciate it. A lot of subscribers. We crossed 4,000. We crossed 4,000 subscribers on Spreaker. And so thank you guys. And I'm going to stop rambling and take this opportunity to go to bed. All right. You guys have a good one.